Atlas of ZvT, defending one base, Marine, Liberator, Tank all in, with a few Medivacs and a few SCVs. The greatest difficulty of defending this attack is identifying the attack. If you think about the burden of the all-in player, they want to conceal as many clues of their all-in as they possibly can. Marine is pretty good at deflecting overlords, so the opening is 2 Marines to try and snipe your first overlord. Looks like they go reactor and then Marine, which should be in enough time to kill the overlord. I stopped my first overlord here. You can watch the Reaper go by. It's a little bit safer. You could send the overlord here, but sometimes they'll still rush out and kill it. So I took the more conservative route. This gives me vision of any ground units moving from their base. And this overlord checked the proxy Rex location, and now it's being rallied near their main for a scout later on. My opening was hatch gas pool, ling speed, pull off of gas, make queens, and make 4 lings to deflect the Reaper. This map you get a pocket base, so usually I take this as a third at around 30 supply. If you look at your game clock, if a Reaper has not arrived by around 2:35, they're probably not opening Reaper. So sending your lings is usually a pretty good move. I see quite a few Marines that are outside of the base. This is a very aggressive posture for the opponent. Whenever you're scouting, you should think not only about the units that are in the game, but how they're moving their units. Because a lot of times the way they're moving against you will disclose what they're trying to do. So this was a very aggressive sort of move, and they already have 4 Marines in the game. In their base, which I have not seen yet, they have a barracks with a reactor, a factory with a tech lab and a widow mine, and a starport, and no expansion. With that Marine opener, they could shoot overlords that are flying in this area to try and scout the natural. This base is pretty hard to scout. It's in the very opposite corner of the map. So I don't actually know for certain that it's one base all in, but it does look like something that's fairly aggressive, and I don't know what. So because I couldn't scout with the lings, I'm going to send the overlord in and see what's up. I see a factory that's finished, a starport, and a barracks that's making Marines, 2 Marines here, and then there's a Medivac here in my vision. When I was in the game, I didn't actually know what went by my vision. This could have been a Liberator. The key, though, is to know that there's something on the left side of the map so you can be prepared. So whenever you're scouting, it takes a while to develop your intuition of understanding the time in the game and the type of stuff in the game. But as a reference, if you go for a 4-minute Overlord scout, an economy-based build could have a 3rd orbital that's on the way. And they would have this as a base, and they would have lots of SCVs, basically 2-base economy. They might have a factory with a reactor, and they might be working on a starport. But in this scenario, we already see lots of production that's already working. So I opted for a Roach Warren and 2 more gases. I'm still droning. I don't know exactly what it is. Okay, now I know that it's Marine Medivac. So I want to gather up my units. I went ahead and pulled all my queens together in the army group and then made new queens at my other bases, so I don't really fall behind on larva. This saturation amount is pretty safe. Sometimes players just go for a Marine drop and then they'll go back into macro, so I'm not totally certain that it's an all-in yet. I'm taking my double Evo and a Bane Nest and a Lair to get into Ling Bane Muta. A little bit supply block from those Marines, which is a bummer. So since I'm still in the dark about what's going on, I'm going to send these lings, see what I can find out, and then this is what the attack looks like. 2 Liberators, 2 tanks, 8 Marines, and several SCVs to repair the units. The majority of the attack is the gas units. The Marines are kind of a buffer to keep those units alive, and the Medivac is a tool to keep the tanks alive as well. So the goal for Terran in this position is to establish a really tough siege position right here at the edge of your creep, and then gradually creep forward with tanks and Liberators and give you a bad time. So something I decided once I saw that it was an all-in, I'm not going to take upgrades. They won't be done in time and I won't get value from all that money. That's 250, 250 to take double upgrades. I'm not going to take a Spire against this. It wouldn't be done in time to defend the attack. I'm not going to take Roach Speed. You don't really need to take more speed upgrades if the opponent is already all in your base. You're fighting on creep. So I'm making queens. In production, let's see, I have 44 drones, so that's right around complete 2-base saturation. Now my procedure is spend all the gas into Roach and any remaining mineral into lane and queen. I'm supply blocked here, that's a slight mistake. Whenever you're against a big all-in like this, it's important to rally your overlords to safe locations. If they have a huge all-in that's right outside your base, you don't really need to get fancy about rallying overlords to fill dead space vision on the map. You just want to get them out and then be able to focus on the fight. So maybe rallying them kind of in the center of your bases would be a pretty safe place to put your overlords. Now, the aggressive player has the luxury of initiative, so this Terran is deciding where and when the battle is fought. The luxury of the defending player with an economy advantage is I can afford to trade more wastefully against the opponent. So even if roaches are not a good unit against tanks, I can still make roaches to leverage my superior economy and trade decently. These queens, they got a little bit choked up on the ramp, but what I want to do is focus these liberators down and then transfuse whichever queen is getting shot. And then once the bulk of my units are gone, I'll fall back to my hatcheries. Again, since their push is mainly tank, they can't really rush forward. They would have to unsiege and then reposition, and anytime they do that, they're incredibly vulnerable. So I'm kind of rallying everything to the back side of my base, and then when I have enough units to overwhelm them, I'll attack all at once from multiple angles. So I'm still making Queen Roachling. This is fairly similar to the approach of defending Protoss all-ins in Heart of the Swarm, where you're just spending your money as effectively as possible. Nothing fancy. I am floating a bit of gas here. I did notice that and then pulled some off of gas. Inject with the queen and then bind it with the army. Inject with the queen, bind it with the army. And then now I feel like I have enough stuff, and I'll go for a big attack. Now you notice I have my attack move, rally to here, and I also have new units from the bases rally to that location as well. If you attack a little bit behind the opponent, you'll have a little bit more of an arc when you arrive in their territory, which means you will take less splash damage from the tanks, which are very high damage units. Transfusing. And then once they start losing tanks, they lose the location and the all-in has failed.